Welcome you all to the next session of consumption analysis. Today we will be seeing about the law of equimarginal utility and consumer surplus. In the last session, we have already seen what is the law of diminishing marginal utility, and we know that it is only applicable to a single commodity. But as we are humans, we already know that our wants are unlimited and all our wants needs to be satisfied. For that, the law of diminishing marginal utility was modified into law of equimarginal utility. There are also certain other names for this law, which are law of substitution, law of consumers equilibrium, cause and second law, and law of maximum satisfaction. One important point here is why it is called cause and second law. We already know that the law of DMU was initially given by H.H. Gaussen and was later modified by Alfred Marshall. Similarly, this law also was first given by H.H. Gaussen and later modified by Alfred Marshall. So, what he explains about this law is, if a person has a thing which he can put to several uses, he will distribute it among these uses in such a way that it has the same marginal utility in all. For if it had a greater marginal utility in one use than another, he would gain by taking away some of it from the second use and apply it to the first. So what he clearly explains here is, suppose if we have two commodities and we have wants for these two commodities, if we gain marginal utility in a different levels among these two, we make sure that it is brought into equilibrium. That is why this law is also known as law of consumers equilibrium. So to explain it further, take the first equation, which is marginal utility of apple divided by price of apple, which is equal to marginal utility of orange divided by price of orange, which is equal to constant marginal utility of money. Since we have considered orange and apple here, what we are trying to explain is, according to the law, the marginal utility gained from orange as well as apple will always be equal based on consumers equilibrium. We have already seen what is consumers equilibrium in the first chapter, which is when a consumer gets maximum satisfaction with his limited income, he is known to be in a consumers equilibrium. Take the case of the second equation, which is, what if the constant marginal utility of money that he gains from apple is less than what he gains from orange? In this case, when this value is less than what is gained from orange, he transfers a bit of money from apple to orange to make sure that he comes to an equilibrium. We'll see further explanation and illustration in the next slide. Since we are substituting our money from apple to orange, that is from one commodity to the next commodity, we are also calling this law as law of substitution. Okay, now coming to the illustration about this law, we have two commodities as we have already seen, which is apple and orange, and the user is given 14 rupees to make to bring an equilibrium for his satisfaction by consuming both apple and orange. For that, what he does is, he has separate total utilities for orange as well as for apple. In the first one, what we are seeing in both cases is total utility, then marginal utility, and the ratio which we have seen in the previous slide, which is MUA divided by PA. Similarly, MUO divided by PO. The total utility here is from the first unit of apple 25, 45, 63 and it goes up to 92. Similarly, for orange it starts from 30 to 61. We already know how to calculate marginal utility, which is deducting the total utility of the first commodity from the total utility of the second commodity. So what we have here is, for the first one we have the entire total utility as marginal utility. From then on we keep deducting and we have 20, 18, 15, 10 and 4. Similarly here 11, 8, 5, 4 and 3. So by deducting, the price of apple is 2. The price of orange is 1. So from marginal utility, which is 25 here, we divide it by 2. 12.5. Similarly, we have 10, 9, 7.5, 5 and 2. For orange, we have the constant marginal utility at 30, 11, 8, 5, 4 and 3. If you take both the cases, the constant marginal utility is the same, that is, it's at equilibrium when he consumes 5 units of apple and 4 units of orange. So this is what is called law of equimarginal utility. That is, we make sure that the constant marginal utility from both the commodities in question stays the same or stays in equilibrium. Here we have the constant value of 5 and 5. Take the case of 2. When it is 2 and then when it's 5 here, what happens? We have a lower marginal utility and we have a higher marginal utility here. So, in order to compensate with that, money is transferred from apple to orange so that he can get more apples and then make it equal to a value of 2. So, with the 14 rupees that he has right now, he gets 5 units of apple, which is at 10 rupees, and 4 units of orange, which is at 4 rupees total. So, in total, it's 14 rupees. This same thing is given in as an illustration here. So, this is the unit of marginal utility of apple, this is the units of apple, similar units of orange, and marginal utility from orange. So, this value is the equilibrium value, which is 5 units of apple and 4 units of orange. There are also some criticisms here. As we already know, utility cannot be measured, it can only be felt. So, it's always subjective in nature. And also, this law cannot be applied to durable goods. The second concept is the consumer's surplus. This was introduced by classical economists and was later modified by Jevons and Jules Dupoit in 1844. Again, Alfred Marshall was the one who refined this law to give a proper definition so that it can be used further in economics. And once again, this law is also based on law of diminishing marginal utility. The excess of price which a person would be willing to pay a thing rather than go without the thing, that is, the excess of price which we are willing to pay. அதிகமா நம்ம எவ்வளவு price pay பண்ண ரெடியா இருக்கோம் ஒரு ப்ராடக்ட்டுக்கு. That is, if you consider some commodity at 2 rupees, but if you are ready to pay even at a higher price, instead of 2 rupees, if you are trying to pay 4 rupees or 6 rupees, or if you are ready to pay 8 rupees or 10 rupees, and that difference, that is, if you are ready to pay 10 rupees for a 2 rupee product, the 8 rupees gap is called as consumer's surplus. The excess of price which a person would be willing to pay a thing rather than go without the thing over that which he actually does pay is the economic measure of this surplus satisfaction. And this surplus satisfaction is called as consumer's surplus. Okay, what are the assumptions that we have here? Utility can be measured. Normally, utility cannot be measured, but in this case, we assume that the utility provided by a commodity can be measured. And the marginal utility of money of the consumer remains constant. That is, he must be on the same level of income and he has the same marginal utility for that product. There are no substitutes for the commodity in question. That is, take the case of fruits. We'll consider the ones from the previous slide. Instead of apple, you can also get orange. But to satisfy this law, we assume that you can't replace apple with an orange. That is what is being meant here. The taste, income and character of the consumer do not change. Utility of one commodity does not depend upon the other commodities. That is, the utility you gain from one commodity is not related in any way to the utility you consider from the other commodity. So here is an explanation. We have already seen that consumer surplus is what a person is willing to pay minus what he actually pays, or a potential price minus actual price. Potential price is something that you are willing to pay. That is what is known as potential price. In mathematical terms, this is denoted by consumer surplus is equal to TU, which is total utility, minus product of price and quantity of the commodity. Take the case of example here. Consumer surplus is equal to, we already know what is total utility. If we add up all the marginal utility, it's called total utility. That is, for different units of commodity, we have different marginal utilities. If you add up all these marginal utilities, you gain total utility. So, the 20 here is the total utility. But the actual price of the commodity is 2 rupees and we consider 5 units of commodity here. So, which is 2 into 5. So, in this case, 20 minus 10 is equal to 10. And this 10 is the consumer's surplus. If you see further, that is, if you see in detail, take the case of the first unit of commodity. For 2 rupees, which is actual price, we are ready to pay 6 rupees. Similarly, for the second article, we are ready to pay 5. And it goes down because our marginal utility reduces. Okay? So, with this, we sum everything to get the total utility and we also sum everything to get the total price and we have total commodity. And if we calculate individually the consumer's surplus, which is equal to potential price minus actual price, 6 minus 2, 4. This is the consumer surplus from the first one. From the second one, it is 3. The third one has a consumer surplus of 2 rupees. Fourth one is 1 rupee, and the fifth unit, you don't spend anything further. You actually pay the same price, which is your actual price. So, if you sum it everything, you get 20 minus 10, which is 10. The same thing is shown in the slide over there. This is the actual price and this is the actual commodity. That is, OQ is the commodity, OP is the price. From this we know price into quantity of commodity. So OP into OQ, we get the area of this, which is the actual demand for a product. But what we see here is OD, which is the potential price. That is, a consumer is ready to pay the price of OD for the same quantity. So, the area of this whole, total area of this whole place is, the entire thing gives you the actual price into the same quantity. And if you deduct the consumer, the original price value, that is original price into commodity, we get what is known as consumer's surplus, which is shown by this area. So what are the different criticisms for consumers surplus? Utility cannot be measured. We already seen this. But one of the major assumptions in this one is utility can be measured. But utility cannot be measured is the ultimate truth, and it's always subjective in nature. So this law holds true only for very limited number of assumptions. Marginal utility of money once again does not remain constant. The marginal utility always changes. We get one product, and consecutively when we get different products, our marginal utility of money reduces or increases. The potential price is internal, that is the price for any product, even if let it be the potential price, that is the price which you are willing to pay, the price which a consumer is willing to pay is internal, as in people already know it. So that's what is being said here. It might be known to the consumer himself. So he will not be willing to pay because he already know the range of potential price which a product can get. So this also is one of the major criticisms for this. And these two are the important questions from the topic that we have covered today. Please write them down and submit through Google Classroom. Thank you.